I was going to compile all of the times I said whoops in this video, but the task just seems too daunting. Hey, W here. Welcome to my workshop. On the table in front of me here is an old bag of mine. I like this bag. It's a good bag, or it served me well. But as you can see, well, it's taken a beating, and it's sun bleached and sort of Recently, I was at the fabric store. I think I was there for something else. I can't actually remember. But I got my hands on this. It's like a few yards, I guess, and a couple of meters of this heavy duty. It's sort of a nylon fabric, I think. It looks good. I like the way it looks, and it's extremely durable. And I thought that maybe something like that would be good for a bag, and I can make a durable little shoulder bag out of it. Like, for example, a replacement for this one. So that's what I'm thinking to do, and this is just the first. We're in the first phase of planning this, or maybe even before planning, I'm deciding whether or not this is the thing that I'm actually going to do. First of all, was what I was thinking when I was in this phase, that I have a piece of material which may be suitable for a bag. Then there's the whole design issue. So I haven't actually gotten into that yet. I'm just like, I have this piece. What might that be useful for? And then that was one sort of phase of thinking. And then there was another phase of thinking, about how this poor thing maybe needed repair or replacement. And now I'm just wondering if I should just bring these things together. I like this. I have liked using it. It has a good size. Just for a few things, but it's not too small, and it's kind of practical. So I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't reinvent the wheel. It's a good size. It seems fairly accessible in terms of, construction. It doesn't seem complicated. So maybe I should just reproduce this in this material. If I turn it inside out like this, it becomes easy to see the construction. That this is just, there's a panel this size, and two of those, and then there's a strip of fabric that goes around like this until this point, and then there are two squares, no, not squares, but two pieces like this, one on each side, and they make up the mouth. And then it's just a matter of a few embellishments, like if I want this handle again, which I'm not sure I do. I haven't been using that a lot. And of course, somewhere to attach a shoulder strap. So, and if you look at it that way, if I'm thinking maybe I'll just more or less reproduce this because it works. Like if I'm looking at this piece that I have here, like this is more than enough material. Like it's a piece and a piece and a piece and a couple of pieces, and I'll be using maybe this much. And I have like 3 times over on that, or something like that. The one thing that I'm thinking about that I might want to do differently, just turn this back around. Maybe that opening is underdimensioned, and maybe I should do something else. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the possibilities. I'm thinking maybe it's possible to make one of those, like, I want to call it the Frogmouth, the kind of bag that has this sort of, it flaps out to the side, and then there's a sort of a springy steel wire in it so that you can go boom. Okay, so yesterday when I had the camera on talking about making a new bag like this one, I mentioned the possibility of doing something with the opening that I refer to as a frog mouth. And I've been experimenting. I didn't know what to call that because I don't know the technical term for it. But I've been researching a little bit and looking into it. And this is what I found so far. What I'm looking for, what I was looking for, they're called stays. It's a metal frame that you put into the opening of the bag, so as to keep holding it open. And I found out how those worked. So I just, off camera, I'm sorry, I banged out a quick test, and I'm just gonna show you the final throws of that. So I quickly stitched together, just out of some that's an old sheet and it's dusted and all that I had lying around. I just put together this obviously completely rudimentary bag shape with a pocket. There's a pocket at the top here, and I've made a hole on each end of these pockets, and then I've made my own stays. After what I've seen, from what I've seen on the internet, I made what I believe is these things are just out of, this is regular like 2mm fencing wire, just cut and bent it. So let's see how this works. You're supposed to just pop these in here inside these pockets, and that should basically be it. I mean, apart from the closure of the bag, which I'm not simulating at this point. So I'm just putting these inside in the pockets. They're all the way inside. There's no metal sticking out or anything. And oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, of course they do that. This is the opening of the bag now, and it'll obviously, when it's open, you see why I called it Frogmouth, right? If there was a zipper, I'd zip it up and it'll do like this. Zip, and the bag looks like that. And then you unzip it, boom, boom, boom. And I think I'm going to do something like that with this. I'm getting the impression here that if instead of this rudimentary envelope, just flat thing that I done, if I had shaped this, if I had sewn this into a box shape, like put a seam in here and a bottom, then when it opens, it'll be like a box, like a whole box. And then when I close it, boink, then the bottom will still be box shaped and sort of support this shape on the end here. That's, at least that's what I think. So I just wanted to add this little test, Frogmouth test, to this project, to the discovery phase of this project. And yeah, I'm going to go find out what the next step's going to be. So I am moving forward with this bag project, and that means trying to get from this quick test that I did, which the mechanics are fine, getting from that quick test to something that can replace this, which means something roughly the same size and shape, but with some features of my own. And I think what I have to do, just put this off to the side a little bit, I think I should build it around the zipper, around the size of it. I went looking for zippers, and I chose this one because it's going to be, I'm going to be putting my hand in a bag, and I don't want one of these sort of sharp-ish metal zippers, and I didn't want the tiny, tiny plastic ones either because they tend to break. In fact, that's the kind that's in here, and it broke. So a bit of a burly or chunky zipper is what I went for. And they come in different lengths. I mean, I guess you can get custom lengths, but I went for a standard, and I thought this one was close. Again, if I look at the size of the bag, this is roughly going to be the kind of opening that I'm looking for. And the same for my test here. So roughly the size of that. But it should not be roughly, it should be exactly. So I think what I need to do is build the bag around the zipper so that, for example, so that the opening of the mouth of the bag is exactly the size which will accommodate this zipper. I'm just going to remove the stays. What's left when the stays are out, the flat version should fit this zipper exactly, which means a little bit bigger than my test here, so that I can sew the zipper in like this, and then stays should be the same length as well, so that this all of that. It's an opening, the opening of the bag, but this dictates the size of the opening. So there's going to be a little bit of construction here. So out comes the paper and the pen here. So the construction is going to be just a sort of like a squarish bucket. So a side, or these are the short sides, and then the front and back, sort of like that. And then the zipper is going to go along this edge. And the stays are going to go in there too, so that when you close it, it's these sides are pulled together in the manner of this thing. But I don't see any traps. I mean, in the opening here, or in the construction, that's just how it should be. This sort of like square box of fabric with a zipper along the upper edge. And then when I close that, of course, these two edges are pulled together, but they're held by stays like this, so that an edge comes out of it that's sort of shut like that with the zipper. And then the fabric just sort of folds around it, like we see in the end of this thing. I should put these, maybe I should just put the stays back in, so that when it's closed, it gets this sort of, that's what I tried to draw here. The closed mouth of the bag gets this sort of fold in the end, and that's part of the construction. Only instead of having a seam in the middle, here, it's going to have a seam that comes off of this corner here and here, and this is just going to be a unified piece of fabric. And of course, there'll be a box, a bottom to the box as well, so I'll make one long piece for that. But that means that it'll, even though the top comes together this envelope sort of shape here, it'll still be boxed in the bottom, so the overall shape of the bag will be something like this. And the construction of that, the construction challenge, so to speak, is that I need to go for from some measurements, like the bag opening, or from this drawing here. Actually, I think maybe I can put some overall measurements on that. So going from the zipper here, the opening of the bag, to close properly, it needs to be 25.5 centimeters. So that means this whole circumference, or half circumference actually, from here to here, going around here, that dimension is 25.5 centimeters. Which means that if we put the bag down flat, that's the length of the side. But I have to figure out the size of these side panels. And that means I need to make decisions about how thick I want this box to be. So this dimension down here, if I look at the bag, the existing bag, like I said in the beginning, I kind of like this, so I don't need to make big adjustments to the general sort of gist of this thing. And if I measure that, it's 12 centimeters. So I'm just going to go with that, which gives me 12 here. And that tells me that I have a unified side piece, or a unified piece going to the middle, as if there was a seam here, which there isn't. But if there was, it's 25.5 minus half of this on one side and half of it on the other side. So minus 6 and minus 6. So that's 25.5 minus 12 centimeters. That's 13.5 centimeters. That's the measurement of the piece that goes on the front here. And on the back, obviously, they're the same size. Which also means the side pieces are 12 centimeters, like it says over here. So that's the front. and that's the side. And then the height, there we go. Roughly the same as well, no need to change that. So 25. And that's the final measurement for that one. So these are the final dimensions of the bag, the box that makes up the bag. What that tells me, I think, is the following. I need 2 pieces of fabric for front and back. And I need those pieces to be, like I said, 13.5 by 25 centimeters. 25.0. So 13.5 by 25. And the side piece should be also 25 and 12, and that's 2 of those and 2 of those, and then a bottom piece which is also 12 and 13.5. So these are the measurements, and there's just one of them. Or I might want to combine those and that one. I should find that out soon, because these measurements are X seam allowance. So whatever I do, whenever I get to cutting the fabric, they should be these measurements plus a seam allowance. And what that means is turning, if I choose to turn these sides and the bottom into one long piece, then I don't need seam allowance for this corner here, because it's actually one piece on this one. If these are separate, I need a seam allowance here. If they're not, I don't. So that makes a difference in how big the fabrics are. But there's more, because this is X seam allowance, and it is also X the construction of this thing. If you recall from my test here, I have made a pocket. There's a pocket here, so it goes over, and then the stays go into a pocket. I think the way to do it is to make the pocket almost exactly like I did here, and then just sew in the zipper right through the pocket. Or just use the pocket as the top seam, because then it's already nice. I just sew it in like that. It's going to look nice, and then the pocket for the stay is right below that. That's what I think I should do. So, and this pocket may be a little over-dimensioned for the stays, but let me just see how big it is. This pocket it's 2 centimeters. So that's at least something like that, which means that if I put here also X pocket, that means the pocket stay pocket plus, let's say, 4 centimeters, and the seam allowance. And for determining that, I actually think it's time to bring the fabric onto the table here. I just want to get a feel for this, right? Just quickly get some kind of an idea. The seam allowance of this is fairly stiff, so I don't want to make it too short, or it becomes, I can't handle it if I have to fold over. If I don't have enough material to fold over that I can get a proper grip on it, or stick it down if that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say the seam allowance is at least 1.5 centimeters. 1.5 centimeters, which obviously means that this dimension, 25 centimeters to the side here, plus 4, that's 29. That's plus 1.5, that's 30.5. Plus another 1.5 because you need seam allowance on both ends. So that's basically this plus 2 of these. And 2, that's 7, that's 3, and that's 7. So that's 32, which means the pieces become, if I just get and make another drawing here. 25 plus 7, that's 32. And then 13.5 plus 3, that's 16.5. That's one seam allowance on either side. That's 16.5. And then on this one, the width, remember, is 12 plus 2 seam allowances. That's 12 plus 3, that's 15. And then the height, the same as this one. Same as that one. And then the final piece, the bottom piece, also 15. And also 16.5. These are the actual pieces that I need to cut out of the fabric. So just clearing away some of all this clutter, I'm going to find out how these pieces fit on my fabric here. So let's just see first, 32 centimeters. That's almost exactly how much I wrote out here. Oh, quick calculation. If I do the sides and bottoms as one piece, like the original bag, that's 79 centimeters. And there's definitely not enough in the width here. That's for sure, and I expected that. But let's see if there's enough in the length. Because if there is, I do prefer that. That's what I want to do, which means I have to redo that drawing again. So there's an edge that comes off because this is sort of a starting edge. And I said 79. There's more than enough fabric. I've got at least as much still. So that's the decision, I think. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make templates, paper templates for the fabric I want. Because I remember when I was taught how to sew a little in school, they showed us to do that because that way you can place them on your fabric and be sure that you have everything and it's not overlapping. This is really simple, but still, I think I'd like that. And because the pieces are obviously too big to make out of a regular sheet of paper, I'm going to get some of my beloved brown paper here. So 79, that should do it. So that's here. And then the width, 15. Really? Am I really doing all of this for just 3 pieces of fabric? Yeah, I am. There. And there's the bottom. And as the other side, and they end up equal of length, which tells me I've done this correctly. Just clear a little space and pull the fabric out. Then what I should cut from this fabric is one of these. And this is, again, remember, this is including seam allowance. The fabric is crooked on this side. I should check if it's straight on the other side. That would be a little bit easier for me to work with. I'm supposed to cut one of these and two of these out of this piece of fabric. I'm going to have a lot of fabric left over, and that's great. So you know what? I think I'm just going to be brave and cut this fabric, or these pieces out of this piece of fabric here. After all, there's plenty left over. It's not like I have one chance, and if I get it wrong, the fabric's gone. And it seems like this is just straight enough that I can just go by the edge here. Oh, wait. I'm cutting almost 80 centimeters, and that's too much even for my lovely new giant A2 cutting mat. So I have another cutting mat. I'll just put that next to it here. And then I'm going to need some markings, and then I'll need a slightly longer straight edge, which this is. This is just a piece of wood, but I've checked it's more than straight enough for this kind of work. There are the pieces, and I've just now realized I should have been drawing on the back side, not on the front, but so far I've only drawn within the seam allowance, so it won't be visible, but I shouldn't have. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to pin these together just to see what it looks like, and to see how crazy wrong I am or whatever. Wow, this fabric is really rigid and sort of tough. And I think that's a little bit on the both good and bad side for working, because it makes it easier to hold and to sort of, I mean, just 3 needles or 3 pins here and see how straight it is. But that could also mean that it's gonna be tough to work with. In some senses, or in some processes here. Definitely possible. We'll see. I'm not afraid of my sewing machine's ability to stitch through this heavy fabric, because that thing's powerful. Coming around the corner here, I try to be as accurate as I can, hitting the corner like so, and then I can get the fabric out of the way once I have a good firm grip. And spoiler, I have some special double stick tape that's meant for sewing stuff, and it's amazing. I'll probably end up using that for this project. I may have actually shown the fabric double stick in a different video. And that is enough to make me nervous, because see, this is straight on the corner like it's supposed to be, and then on the other end it's this far from. That's exactly why I do things like this, pinning it together first and checking, because as you can see, this is not straight. This is at the corner where it's supposed to be, more or less, and it's very short compared to the other end where it's actually the other side is perfectly on both of these corners. So something doesn't match up. And it doesn't, if they were equally off, that would be one thing, but they're not. So I'm just going to unpin this. Okay, so did I forget something? Did I forget to test these? Actually, the answer is no. These are the same size. So now I have to find out what I did wrong. Now I have to find out what the problem is. I'm gonna have to reassemble it. Okay, let me just try something. I'm gonna assemble it both sides at the same time. Cool. All right. Let me show you how I'm gonna do this. I think I have a method. Right. So this is what I'm gonna do. This is the inside. I'm gonna use the inside for marking, and then I'm just gonna fold this over very accurately, or as accurately as I can, and then I'm gonna mark it in the end here, so that I have some clear marks that tells me that's the middle. And then I'm going to get these two pieces and do the same thing. Check this out. Fold it at the middle, or to the middle, and mark it. Because then I know this mark and that mark, they have to align, which also tells me where the corners get to be. So that's one. So the next thing I have to do is stitch these together. So here's the double stick for fabrics, and they're going to be stitched from the inside, obviously. So the way you do this is I'm going to get some of this double stick here. And I'm going to put that about 15 millimeters. That's the seam allowance. So about 15 millimeters of seam allowance. Now, should I stick the whole thing together? You know what? No, I'm not going to try to sew around those corners. I'm going to stitch this on like this, and then I'm just going to, after this is stitched together, I'm going to get the side, and I'm going to stitch that separately. I'm not going to try to stitch around that corner, because I don't think I can do that. I mean, maybe someone who's better than me with a sewing machine, but I don't think I can. See, instead of using pins, this is now stuck together with the tape. It is so much easier to sew. Which means the sewing machine's coming out. Yay! I'm not exactly making this easy on myself because I'm going to be threading it with black, or sewing it with black thread. So I can't see the thread against the fabric, but I think I'll prefer it. I'll prefer the result that way. Also, I definitely don't think I'm good enough with a sewing machine so that if you can see the seams, you're going to be able to see that they're crooked. And as always, a little test piece. That looks pretty good. Test is okay. Here comes the piece. And what I intend to do here is I'm going to stitch these two pieces together with a single straight seam, and then I'm going to do a zigzag seam next to it, a shy of it, on the inside to help with strength. Just wipe it off here. And now the stiffness of this fabric seems to indicate, or because of the stiffness of the fabric, it should be extremely easy to sew straight. I'm trying not to get cocky or carried away because I'm not good at sewing straight, and I don't want to be like, oh, well, this is easy because of the fabric, and then it's still crooked. Like that, and then a bit of a zigzag. There we are. I think that's going to be a very strong, very powerful seam. Okay, and now I'm thinking, should I put the other side on first? Okay, let me just do some thinking with my fingers here. Because I want to work out if I should put the other side on simultaneously. What's going to happen around these corners is I go like this. Oh, I made a mistake. I'm going to have to rip this and start again. Oh, actually, I think maybe I can fix my mistake without having to do the whole thing over. Let me see if I can just show you here. I stitched this all the way to the edge of this fabric, but I shouldn't because the around the corner, when I go around the corner, I need to get back into about here where the seam on the next side, so to speak, is going to come off of here. So when I've stitched all the way to the end, I can't turn this the way I'm supposed to. So I have to take about, the same distance roughly from the seam to the edge here should also be here. And I have to pick up some of the stitching. But I didn't have to do it all over because I stitched on top of this twice and it's still left there. So it's not gonna unravel. And if I want to be safe, I can just get the machine and stitch on top of these a few times to make sure they don't unravel. Right, I'm going to get back to that in a moment. But what I was going to try, and what I was trying to figure out is when I do this and stitch it, I'm going like this, and then I'm sewing, and then on the other side, I think I can just put one side on and then put the other side on. I don't think there's any reason to have the other side flapping off here while I'm doing one. First, I'll just, like I said, I'll just do a little bit of stitching on top of the thing that I picked apart here, so just to make sure that it was locked off properly and doesn't. Right. There we are. That's all that took. So the next step is double sticking, using that double stick stuff to put the next seam in place, like so. And about the width of the double stick from the edge is what I did last time. There we go. Like this. And then the trick of folding this fabric out of the way and putting the edge down. But as you can probably clearly see, I think, that's way easier what I just did than putting pins in all of this. The big trick, of course, is when I stitch it, I have to be careful to get all the way up to the edge here, but not stitch down the other sides, because it has to be loose and free, of course, to constitute the bottom. And now my decision is which end to stitch from. I think I should go from this end towards this is the difficult bit. So I shouldn't start there. I should start on the easy end. So that most of the seam is done by the time it gets difficult. That's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. The straight seam first. Like I said, I'm trying not to get cocky because, yes, this fabric is very stiff and stays very well, but it's also very slippery. So it can very easily skate under the foot of the sewing machine here, which I think it just did. There we go. I think that's all. That's very close. I mean, it's not going to be watertight, but it's going to have a nice tight corner there. It could be way worse. And then the zigzag next to it here. Look at that. It's looking pretty good. And then the other side. Double stick. By the way, normally what I just did doing like this to smooth something on fabrics, don't do that. Always press down because you'll wrinkle it or push it. But with this stuff, I mean, it does not deform. You know what? I just want to turn this the right way out just to see what it looks like. Just for a quick look, a preview, so to speak. Now you can see that in some places the double stick is visible in the seam. It's okay because it's water soluble. You can just wash it out. That's how clever it is. And see how my corners when I push them all the way down, I get these sort of, I think they're reasonably nice straight corners. I definitely think they're good enough for my work. Okay, so that was the easy side. Now comes the hard, difficult one. Put some double stick on this. Obviously everything is going to be more difficult on this side. I knew that. And find the middle here, the mark that I made. There. So far, so good. I now have a fabric box made out of this lovely rigid fabric here. The next thing that I should do, I think, is make the pocket. So I have to fold this down in this very rigid fabric, and I have to make a pocket by stitching along this fold. And this is going to be a tough one because I can already tell that the fabric fights me on this. I think you would probably normally you'd get an iron and iron it down, but this is plastic, so I can't do that. And I'm not sure the double stick will help me at all either. Again, I think I should just go for it. I think I should just stitch in this this pocket here and see where that gets me. This is going to be, I know that when you put in a zipper, I should stitch it as close to the edge, to the zipper as I can get. But, you know, there's still going to be at least 5 millimeters from the edge there. And then you have a little bit of pocket. It should be just shy of 2 centimeters. Then I'll start right in the middle of a face here, where it's easy for me to get at. What, is that okay? Yeah. There we go. I shall try this again. It's not good enough. I'm not happy. And that's what matters, isn't it? Right, I'm back to where I was, except with the right side out instead. And I've actually decided to pin the seam or the pocket next to the corner seams, because I think that's a sort of a seed area. That's where the errors start, or that's where they become errors, which then propagate along the seam. So let's try it again, shall we? Boom. Not too bad at all. And that's where the zipper goes. Maybe I should try pinning that in. I was just about to say something about how do I get to the inside. Well, dude, you get to the inside by opening the zipper. That's what zippers are for. Did I mention this is the first time in my life that I'm putting on a zipper on anything? Check that out. And then I'm going to have the stays, which will force this into this sort of envelope loop on a sort of... That thing is going to happen on the ends when I put the stays in. This is going to look pretty good. And the length seems to be okay. Right, so the next thing that I need to do before I stitch in the zipper, the stays, actually. You'll recall from my test here, I made these test stays. This is just fencing wire. It's just 2mm fencing wire. This is, I think that's also 2mm actually, but this is spring steel. Boom. Okay, so here's the thing. The tutorials that I saw, they say that you should just cut a hole. So I'm going to get an X-Acto and try to very gently poke a hole in, or actually not poke, but cut a hole and get into this pocket here without going through the other side. There we go. That seems to be going rather well, actually. And then this is there's a little bit of a struggle on the corner here because the seam is on the inside of the pocket as well. So I have to get the rod inside, sort of past that seam. And that corner, of course, is exactly where the end of the knee, the elbow of the stay is going to be, like that. Look at that. That's exactly the way I want it. That's how I want it to look. And then the other one. Actually, I don't need to put the other one in because I just wanted to see if it works. And I have to take them out in order to put the zipper in. But I just want to see this work. If this thing isn't durable when it's done, it won't be because of the material. It will have to be because of my work. There we go. See, because the thing I want to see working is the Frogmouth. Whoop! See, when I zip it up, it's going to do like this. How about, I'm actually very satisfied. That's going to be very cool, I think. Well, I like it. So you zip it up, and then when you unzip it, it's open and you can get your hand in. Am I ready to put the zipper in? Let me just get a feel for this. I just want to get a sense of whether I still believe that the pocket is wide enough. Yeah, more than that. I have the rod is, now I have the rod right next to the wire, right next to the seam here. And all of this that I've got my finger on, all of these, that's like 10 millimeters, is, I have all that space for sewing this thing in. All right, cool. So, zipper. And I'm just gonna put a new, or not a new, but put an accessory, a different accessory on the sewing machine here. I need this. which is a zipper foot. I'm going to put that on. So that's ready. And I think I should just put the zipper on where I think it goes. It's recommended that you stitch this on loosely and then sew it. I don't think the double stick is powerful enough. I just don't think it can hold it. So I'm gonna pin it. That's perfect. That is perfect. So now I have to figure out how to sew this on. That looks pretty good. It actually looks fairly straight as well. So that's the zipper on one side. Alright. Second side of the zipper. Second side of the zipper. Alright, let's try zipping it. That's definitely close enough. That's it. Boom. That is it. The zipper is in. Now I cannot contain myself. I have to try and put the stays in. Because if that works, if it looks good and if it works, that means the body of this arrangement, the sort of meat of this bag is done. I think I'll just trim off the ends of some of this I also need to trim the excess of this inside seam. I'll do that first. Here, this excess, the pocket. Let's put the stays in, and as far as I can tell, the stay hole is here, opposite from the zipper pull, and that was not on purpose, but that was definitely the right choice. And ta-da! Okay, it's not done, but the opening and closing thing is done. And the zipper is in, and the stays are in. There you go, Frogmouth. Look at this. Huh? That's exactly what I wanted. You know, I'm actually a little bit proud. That went surprisingly well. Honestly, pretty amazed. This went very, very well. I'm not under any illusion that I did basically any of this correctly. If there's anyone out there who knows how to do this, who knows how to sew, let alone how to make a bag, you must be screaming, and I apologize, but I'm happy. Righty, righty, righty. Oh, through a bunch of careful testing, I have now determined what I believe to be the right placement for the strap. Because the obvious choice of just putting the strap in the middle and putting it straight, well, first of all, I thought maybe it would interfere with the zipper a little bit. It would be slightly impractical, and also with this kind of opening and closing mechanism or mechanic that I've got going here. But also, that's not, I mean, the strap, when you wear a bag, the first thing the strap does, if it's straight, is, go off at an angle to go over your shoulder, at least the way I wear a bag. So that's where I think it should go. But obviously, I have plenty of it. Oops. You can see I have plenty of it, and I'm obviously not just going to stitch it right on the bag. I want it to be adjustable. And the way I'm going to do that is a technique that you have almost certainly seen. It employs 2 D-rings, so I'm going to make a little loop like this, which goes on the bag, on the side of the bag, like so. And then the strap itself goes through both of them, and then back through one of them, like that. And that's actually pretty darn solid. It works very well. An interesting little detail concerning this build or rebuild of this original bag, you'll notice that I've just tied the strap on in a knot like that. And that's because it has that system, but it has these rings. They aren't D-shaped, they're almost square. And this is supposed to work the same way. And I don't know if it's the shape of the rings or the materials or what, but look at this. I can very easily pull it free, whereas I take my test bit here with the D-rings and this other strap. There's absolutely no way I'm pulling that free. So that's what's going to happen now. I'm going to make these little loops that go on the sides and put them on. And that's actually the last step of making this bag. So let's get cracking. There we are. That's where it is. There goes the strap. There goes the bag. And now I'm going to put the stays in. And this closure is going to work. I'm very proud and I'm very happy. This went better than I had dared to hope. So thank you for sticking with me on this journey of discovery. I was basically finding out what I was doing as I was doing it. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. And I actually have a bag that I'm going to use. I'm going to be very happy having this. So that's all for now from the worktop of Dabia. And thank you so much again for being here. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.